The sheer hypocrisy and duplicity of MDC leaders when it comes to dealing with the thorny issue of Zimbabwe's political culture of violence never cease to infuriate me. That's an issue of impunity and fertilizes the breakdown of security of the person and security of the citizen, said Nelson Chamisa. We have so many cases of so many people who have been attacked like this over the past years, and how do you kill somebody like a fly like that? There is no shame or sense of accountability on the part of those responsible. This is one of many cases we face as opposition and human rights defenders who continue to be treated in such a manner. Chamisa was speaking of the murder of a Gudu MDC activist, Nyasha Moyer, by ZANU-PF thugs. Nyasha was attended by his assailants for a rally address by Chamisa. The names of the 3 assailants were given to the police, but, as usual, there have been no arrests. During the 2008 elections, over 500 innocent Zimbabweans were murdered, and hundreds of thousands were beaten and/or raped, and millions were subjected to all manner of harassment and abuse. The elections was a watershed in that the nation witnessed some of the worst wanton violence in the country's history. The heinous crimes were committed by ZANU-PF youths and war veterans as the foot soldiers, backed up by the police, army, CIO and prison services personnel, who carried out the heavy-duty stuff of abducting and killing. This was a ZANU-PF instigated Operation Mavhatera Ani. Operation Whom Did You Vote For? To punish the people for daring to vote for the MDC in the earlier, March 2008 vote. Of course, none of the perpetrators of the wanton 2008 violence were ever arrested and faced justice. The police, army, etc. were and still are to this day captured by ZANU-PF. The police, army, etc. are nothing but a department of ZANU-PF there to serve the party's selfish interest of no regime change. So Nelson Chamisa is right to moan about the culture of impunity and no sense of shame on the part of those responsible for upholding the rule of law and protecting the sanctity of human life. Nelson Chamisa and his MDC friends are shameless hypocrites for 3 reasons. 1. MDC had the golden opportunity during the 2008 to 2013 NU to implement the democratic reforms which would have dismantled the ZANU-PF dictatorship, end the party's stranglehold on the police, army and all the other state institutions, and restore the individual freedoms and rights including the right to free elections and the right to life. They failed to implement even one reform in 5 years because Mugabe bribed them. They forgot about the reforms because they had their snouts in the feeding trough. 2. Everyone has argued that Zimbabwe must implement the reforms first before holding elections. It is none other than MDC leaders who have stubbornly insisted on having elections with no reforms. ZANU-PF has been offering a few gravy train seats to entice the opposition to participate, and MDC and company have found the bait irresistible. Mnangagwa has increases the bait by creating POLID, a superfluous political body to reward all presidential candidates who endorsed him as the legitimate winner of the rigged 2018 elections. 3. By participating in these flawed and illegal elections, MDC and company are giving legitimacy to the vote-trigging ZANU-PF. Of course it is an outrage that the country's fight to end the ZANU-PF dictatorship and the course of bad governance is now being frustrated by MDC, who then have the chutzpah to pontificate over suffering and deaths of the victims of their blatant betrayals. Yes, ZANU-PF have created and ruthlessly retained this de facto one-party dictatorship. However, we cannot deny that the 2008 to 2013 new was our get out of jail card which Morgan Tsvangirai and his mates failed to use by implementing the raft of democratic reforms to dismantle the dictatorship. We can evoke the get out of jail card by demanding the implementation of the reforms before elections, and it is MDC leaders who are refusing to do so under the pretext they have winning in rigged elections strategies. All nonsense, of course, because none of these strategies have worked, and after 41 years of rigged elections the insanity must be stopped. There is the concept of always sitting around a fireplace as a family to look at issues, and if that fails, we always invite a neighbor, continued Chamisa. It was SADC who facilitated the 2008 to 2013 new, and MDC failed to implement even one reform in 5 years because MDC leaders are corrupt and breathtakingly incompetent. Another new will accomplish nothing, not as long as the same corrupt and incompetent ZANU-PF and MDC leaders are allowed to play leading roles. Zimbabwe cannot afford yet another meaningless election process just to give vote rigging ZANU-PF legitimacy and another 5 more years in power. We have the get out of jail card, we must evoke it by demanding reforms before elections. Just because MDC and ZANU-PF leaders have proven to be corrupt and incompetent beyond the pale does not mean no one else can implement the reforms. We just need competent men and women to implement the reforms and not these hypocrites. The reforms themselves are not rocket science.